Hello everybody, welcome along to the JACKOCAR Cup Series here for Season 7, Round 8, Race 108 altogether. It is the Monaco Grand Prix, and as is traditional for JACKOCAR, Race 8 of the season is Throwback Week. And there's a bit of a throwback, me in the commentary box, you haven't seen that for ages. I'm your commentator Owen Wyatt, with me is Jacko, and yeah, you're going to have to be my historian for the last few weeks, because indeed I have not been here.
Oh yeah, don't mind me holding the fort and taking on lead commentary roles, Owen. I tell you what though, despite your absence of the last 3 weeks, I have to give you some credit for actually, ever doing solo comms, because bloody hell, that's difficult. As for being a historian, I wasn't expecting the question, so let me tell you, the last 3 weeks have been won by Ben Shaw, Jake O'Sullivan, and Kieran Spears. So it's almost like back to the good old days of 3 winners in the last 3 races. However, if you've been following the season a bit more closely than that, you will realise that Jamie, Jake, and Ben will have 2 wins, and Kieran, let's say, nudged Jake out the way to get that win in Spa last week, but it was a bloody good move. Everyone loved it, apart from Jake, and it put him into the playoffs. And tonight, the favourite is Casper, who is one of the 3 jokers, along with Ben Shaw and Connor Byers. Can he get it done?
Well, I'll be fully sided with Ben Shaw on this, as I do for every Monaco race, fully in the knowledge that he will mess it up at some point. But yeah, it all depends on the weather. I think people in the chat have been joking about the weather. We obviously saw weather affect qualifying in the K Series earlier in the week, but it looks like it's going to be all nice and dry for this nighttime qualifying session. Of course, Monaco won a few tracks on the game where they decided to put the floodlights on. I'm sure they could probably do it in the likes of Australia and other street tracks, but for some reason Codemasters only do it here. But it shakes it up plenty enough, and full grid of 20 drivers, always nice to see as well.
Yep, it would have been a full grid of 20 full-time drivers as well, until championship lead. No, I'm joking. So I'm looking at the table upside down. Until Tez decided to not race this evening. But he is replaced by Yuri. In fact, Yuri will be the first car out. It's Throwback Week. He's actually gone for a 2018 RB14 Throwback Week, driven by Max Verstappen 0 and Daniel Ricciardo 3. So we'll see.
Nothing.
Hey, my argument is 2018 Max Verstappen 0. He was, wasn't he?
33 he was.
Don't care. It's all about 44. 8-time champion Lewis Hamilton.
I'm just
You're
not
saying nothing.
interested in that debate this week. Interesting enough, Michael Massey's back in the F1 paddock this weekend, and that's got a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans a bit on edge, so there's just no point listening to them really today.
I love it. I actually don't love it. I really can't be asked anymore. We're all agreed, Lewis 8-time, so let's get on with the show, Owen.
Let's do that, yes, as we wait for Yuri to save us from our misery and leave his box, which he is doing right now, on the 2nd in fact. Very nicely done, as he heads out onto the track and hopefully doesn't embarrass himself too much. The man who is, well, he's not doing too badly in the Kia series, although we still wonder why he's there. I wonder why you let him drive in there, because he's very much should be a full-timer here, really. Well, he'd be quite competitive, I would have thought, as well. But, well, he gets 2 races a week. You'd expect him to be pretty decent, but around Monaco, pretty much anything can happen, because it is... I was doing some laps earlier. I was doing my career mode stuff on here, just because it happened to be on the same tracks as the Cup Series calendar, so I thought we'll give it a few laps and see how we get on. And this track is impossible in the lower gears. Most of them are quite difficult, but since the walls are so close here, literally, the wheel spin will have you having an airplane crash, as we saw a few times last season here in the Cup Series. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see how everyone gets along. Will they even bother using first or second gear around here? Some people may even go to 4th. If I was racing around here, I would be going no lower than the 4th gear if I can get away with it.
Sorry, Owen, I am available. I am listening to you. I'm just preparing myself for this qualifying session. Yes, certainly those guys that are on no traction control, they will struggle with first and second gear. But those that put the effort in should be rewarded. Of course, it is the faster way around this game with no traction. but it's certainly a track that does favour the medium runner, just to rule out any mistakes you might make, as we see Yuri begin qualifying then in Monte Carlo. Take us around, Owen White.
Yeah, as he heads around turn 1, a lot of people are probably going to hit that curve quite a lot. You can take loads of that inside curve, open up your exit as you head up the hill. Stay tight to the inside here. Don't be too greedy on the throttle though, because you've got to get yourself into the right-hander, which Yuri goes a little bit wide through, and it nearly puts him into the wall straight away. 18.9 for the first sector. As we head on towards, I think, the slowest corner on the whole calendar, which is made even worse by these cars being humongous and very, very wide. Through to the Portier, which is, well, it's more faithful to the way it used to be these days. There's now loads of buildings and billboards in front of that corner, sort of ruins the appeal for it. But the F1 game, luckily, has got a very old track, so we can get away with it. As we head down towards Nouvelle Chicane, don't hit that inside curve, don't cut the second inside curve, so don't hit that first curve on the way to the left, and then the right, do not cut that one either. To back and the swim pool section, got to keep the car floating in the straight line here. Anything goes wrong at any of these points, you will be having an accident. It's as simple as that. You can say that really for the whole track, I suppose. Raskas, Yuri, a bit wide of that second apex. That's the one you want to be reaching for. And for Anthony Nose to the line. Yuri in his RB, looks nothing like an RB14, but he's crossed the line anyway for a 1:11.2, the first time of the evening.
It's a test livery, that's what I can hear him saying.
Yeah.
Anyway, we move on then to Michael Okeke. This is not really a proper throwback, is it? It's actually a Peterbilt 379 from 1992, the car used in the Transformers movie. My notable achievements I have listed down as Megan Fox, but the driver, Optimus Prime, can Okeke rekindle some form of old. Of course, celebrating 100 JACKOCAR Cup Series starts tonight. As he comes up then to the line, it's P2 for Michael Okeke.
I feel like Risky has to lose points for this because he is using the same livery that he used on Tuesday night, which is the 2010 Lotus livery, run by Jarno Trulli, Heikki Kovalainen. Wasn't very successful, famous for catching fire. In Singapore, and Kovalainen putting it out, sort of slightly ruining the end of that race because you had Vettel and Alonso going very close, and then you just sort of see in the last 2 laps a burning Lotus at the side of the road. Hopefully Risky doesn't have the same fate tonight, but knowing what this league's like around this track, I wouldn't rule it out. As he heads in towards the last few corners now, Jacko, are you wanting to say something?
Yep, do credit him though, because the colours do look absolutely beautiful on there, to be fair to him. We've seen many a Lotus in the past, but Risky has nailed this one as he goes P2, 2/10 off of Yuri's time. As we now move on then, Owen, to Michel Goris, and this is a car with a bit of history, isn't it?
Yes. You'll know that I like a Renault livery. Oh, but he's cheated. Not a surprise. Unfortunately, he's not going to get away with it this time.
It's that livery, isn't it?
Yes, it's the 2008 Crashgate livery. Unfortunately...
Does any more need to be said?
I suppose not really. It's just fitting that he has obviously gone and cheated on his qualifying. Now, hopefully,
it speaks for itself.
Hopefully, he doesn't do the same in the race itself. It's a nice recreation. I don't think there's many livery templates that help you do this particular one. We saw a lot of the early noughties Renaults this week in Kia. Wonder if this one will match up to them. I guess people will decide on that later on.
Yeah. Here's Danny Quinn then. One of 2 Jaguars you'll see this evening. This particular one is the R5, driven by Christian Klein and Mark Webber, famous for absolutely nothing. So hopefully Quinn can get his first decent result of the season. Although he had a P5 in China.
It is famous, of course, this particular car, for losing a diamond here on the first lap in Monaco 2004. So that's about all it achieved. Was it stolen?
Nothing else, then.
Was it just lost? Did it even have a diamond in the front wing at all? It's one of those conspiracy theories that we'll always talk about. So maybe that's why it's went for that livery.
And speaking of unsuccessful liveries, here's the W11 with the Germany spec W11, the one that ended up in the wall, and the other one without a front wheel on it. But Leroy driving that car that was, on its way to victory before the rain come down. The rainmaster Lewis Hamilton not having a very good day in the wet, and I don't think he's ever won in the wet since, with the exception of Russia. But up to the line then comes a Kia Series champion from last season, sets the benchmark, and goes on the front row with his brother.
Let's see, where's Connor? Here he is. Connor, very colourful indeed. And what is an Aston Martin Vantage, back from endurance racing, as Jack has put in his notes here. No one really cares. It's from 2017. It's driven...
I'm glad you read that bit out.
Yeah, it was driven by...
Because it's true.
Turner, Adam and Sarah. So, yeah, this is a 6-year-old WEC livery. It's GT Pro, as we say. No one even knows what it is. So,
no.
It looks alright, though.
I couldn't even tell you who won the main Le Mans class from last year. That's how much people care. Anyway, here goes Connor up to the line. He goes P4. Oh, he'd already crossed the line before I even started speaking. So we'll ignore that, like we will all race, because no one cares. MK Bourne, Mike Kelterborn, he is... I'll do this one because it's a NASCAR one, shall I? The 2018 Shell Pennzoil livery, driven by Joey Logano, to his 2018 NASCAR Championship. At the time, his only one. Of course, Joey Logano is now a 2-time NASCAR champion. Mike has been himself in with a shout of winning a JACKOCAR championship, but yet to convert that, as he almost hits a car coming out of the pit lane. He goes P5 in the process. We have never seen that before, but it's the first time for everything. Who was that, by the way? Ben Spurs?
Spurs, yeah, Ben Harris.
It was, yeah.
My goodness, I bet he knew nothing about that as well.
Nope. I don't think Mike knew much about it, to be fair.
No. And
Next
luckily,
up,
they were clear of another NASCAR livery, so I'll let you do this one again.
Yeah. I can't even find Pete. But yeah, this one, unfortunately, Pete doesn't have the Flames livery, but if he did, it would be perfect. The colours, however, are spot on. It's the 2008 Jeff Gordon Nicorette car. Didn't win any races, of course. Jeff Gordon famous for having a dry season, but he did take pole at Texas Motor Speedway. And like I say, it's just a shame he doesn't have the Flames, because it would be spot on with the colours.
Just say though, that is absolutely hideous. I know. It reminds me of the banana car from Race 1. You know what I mean? It's just,
yeah.
These colours, Gareth has ruined them for me, I think.
And Pete goes P5 with it.
Only P5. No one getting near Leroy's time at the minute. We need to keep reminding you, there is a qualifying session going on. I know we're just bullying loads of liveries, but this always tends to happen. Luckily, not much to talk about with Jess. We've seen her in these colours many times before, including on Tuesday night. This is the livery that she used when she was in seasons 2 and 3. I believe season... was it the first time she got playoffs, or was that season 4? Actually?
Yes, she claims it to be her most successful seasons in Kia, but I would argue it was last season when she was... level on points with me for the Championship 5. Obviously, I had a better count back, so she missed out, but still, it works for Jess. It's got a sentimental value to her as she goes P9. And we see now Ben Harrett, who does have his front wing intact after that collision with Mike earlier. This is based on the 2022 Ash Sutton car from the British Touring Cars. It finished P2 that season. Maybe Ben Harrett can go one better and finish P1 tonight under the lights here in Monte Carlo.
I guess not many people here would maybe watch the BTCC actually, but this is a very, very nice looking livery. And, well, he's putting it in the wall there. He's certainly pushing those limits, as Ben Spurs. And given that we drift run Rascast as well, let's see if he'll be able to get this fin across the line in somewhat competitive fashion. Unfortunately, it's only P6. It's a very close sort of midfield scrap as we normally see, but again, there's that sort of outlet at the front, which is Leroy, who is out there by quite some distance.
Ben is the midfield man, to be fair. So it does make a lot of sense for him to be in the midfield, as we see Kyle almost clip the wall in the chicane there. This, another Lotus, the Lotus 72, driven between 1970 and 72 or 73. Something like that. It went to 2 Drivers' Championships and 3 Constructors' Championships. Designed by the world-famous Colin Chapman and driven by Joachim Rink, Jackie X, people like that, and Kyle Smith this evening as he goes P4.
Yeah, it's an interesting livery to go for. I suppose maybe it's one of his more famous things is that obviously Joachim Rink, the only posthumous F1 champion. I'm sure Kyle doesn't want to try and replicate that tonight, or at any point really in his life. Yeah, it's a decent wee recreation. I like a good Lotus livery, and I'm glad we get to see one tonight. Tonight, here is Jamie Griffiths, and he is in a Ligier, the 1996 one, driven by Olivier Panis, who won here in Monaco. His only race in his career, or his only win in his career. Race only actually had 3 finishers. I'm sure you've heard loads about it. And JACKOCAR will be trying to match that tonight as Jamie goes up to 2nd position.
Yep, from a race-winning car to a car that achieved absolutely nothing then. It's the Season 6 Cup Series champion, Kieran Spears. A car driven by Narain Carter-Kane and Pedro De La Rosa. It is, of course, that 2012 Hispania racing vehicle that isn't very fast. I've got nothing else. I've got no notable achievements for it to talk about, so we just trash talk Kieran.
Do you know, this HRT, which is just cut the corner and completely blown the lap, it is actually a car that I've got a bit of a soft spot for, so it's nice to see it get a little bit of recognition, as long as it doesn't go and stick it in the fence, as Kieran comes on the final corner.
The notable achievement I've written down is it's known for being trash, a bit like Kieran. So there you go.
Well, I'm sure he'll
no one's here to argue that, are they?
Wow.
Casper then. He is not in a Toyota, as per the guide that was released earlier. This is the 2022 gear wrench Ford Mustang, driven by Kevin Harvick. Didn't go on to achieve much more than just being a nice looking livery, the black and orange. This is, of course, Casper's first race away from ART, as he now joins RDR along with Quinn, who we've already seen this evening. But can Casper get it anywhere near the front of the grid? New environment for him. Maybe it'll work out. He is, of course, the 2-time race winner here. The last 2 times we've been to Monaco, he has won and is on a Joker tonight, along with Connor and Ben Shaw. Up to the line comes Casper, and there it is, P1 and a new benchmark.
Here comes another Jaguar, the 2003 run. Now, this one is probably best known for being smashed into the fence in Brazil by Mark Webber. Don't really know anything else that it achieved. I don't think it actually did much. I know he had a decent qualifying, I think, Webber at one point in Malaysia, although that might well have been the 04 car actually. Point is, Jordan's going to try and give this car its first success tonight, as he goes 7th fastest. And yeah, we'll see if he can have a good race tonight. As we move on to something that I've not seen yet, and I'm really hoping it actually looks good for once, Gareth. Oh no.
I quite like it, but then again, I know what it is. It's from the 2013 NASCAR Nationwide Series. So what F2 is to F1 is what Nationwide was to the Cup Series. Of course, that now is the Xfinity Series. But this car was driven by Travis Pastrana, and Gareth's, he didn't do very well. I think the car ran in a Daytona 300 with nothing else going for it. Gareth says he's all about colour though. And speaking of colour, he lights up the Armco barrier with some orange sparks. But the livery certainly is very colourful for the man who sits level on points with Jamie Wright, who we'll see next. Goes over the line, P8.
Right then, so these will be, yeah, Jamie Wright's colours. We've seen him in these colours plenty of times before. I used to beef these colours back in the day, but he's made them look a little bit nicer now. It looks very Aston Martin-like, doesn't it? Rather than horrendous Lotus. So maybe he has actually gone for Aston Martin rather than just...
Originally it was based on the Aston Martin, but it's a throwback to last season's throwback. It's a little bit boring. But Jamie Wright, so seeing as he's throwing back to himself, Jamie Wright is a 2-time Cup Series champion. Believe it or not, we've never said that before, have we?
Is he?
Yeah, I know.
Whoa. You wouldn't think it.
No, you wouldn't. I'm also surprised he's still got his front wing intact. Last time we were here, he was 4 laps down. But he's kept it clean for now and finds himself heading up towards the line. Only P2. But good for him.
It's another NASCAR one, Jericho. I shall let you take this one.
So I'm surprised, actually, you don't know this one. It's the number 1 Chevrolet from last season, the Moose Chevrolet, driven by Ross Chastain. It's the famous 4. Do you remember Martinsville, where Ross Chastain threw it around the outside wall?
Yeah, I do remember that, actually.
Yeah, that's this car.
Okay. Oh,
and Ben spun, so he won't be on pole for a 5th week in a row. But yeah, it's the car that got Ross Chastain into the championship for. Iceman will not equal J-Luke and Arnaud's record. It's only P8. Massive moment in the regular season. With one driver to go then. Jake O'Sullivan, Owen Wyatt.
UBR 21 from 2018. This is a Formula student car. Competed in 2 endurance races at Silverstone and Hockenheim. Got a disqualification in one of them. So, yeah, let's hope we don't add another disqualification to its tally tonight. As Jake, well, will he be aware of what Iceman's just done? I'm sure someone will have told him. He's now seeing himself with a chance to be right up at the front, although I'd be surprised if anyone gets himself past Casper. I think the Iceman might well have been the only one he could have tried. But let's see if Jake can prove me wrong. He's done it before. He likes a shock result. The Season 5 champion in the most extraordinary circumstances imaginable. He's a race winner already this season. He is top as well this season round, which is why he's the last on track. But it's going to be pole position actually by miles. So wow. I completely misjudged that entirely. Although I would be very interested to see what Iceman would have done. In fact, he's going again, is Iceman, but yeah, good luck getting that lap across the line, and he does indeed put the brakes on. I have a feeling he's probably broken the rule there, actually, because he's not actually come back into the pits.
No, we had this discussion before, haven't we? It's quicker to do that than it is to pit. That is allowed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
certainly if you're that late in the session.
Yeah, so it's actually Jake by half a second. I sort of underestimated how quick he was going to be, and that's why I was a bit surprised when it all came across the line. Because, yeah, half a second around Monaco, that is daunting, but I reckon Iceman would have been up there as well, but he's not, as is often the case around Monaco for him. So it's Jake from Casper, Jamie, Leroy, other Jamie, Yuri, Risky, Kyle, Iceman, Jordan, Gareth, Connor, Pete, Ben, MK Bourne, Quinn, OKK, Jess, Kieran, and Michelle. Only 2 drivers didn't actually complete a lap round there. That's quite impressive. A valid lap.
2 or 3?
2, and they were actually they were both completed laps, just invalid, I think. So they all actually did very well there. Bodes well.
Fair enough.
And it remains dry for the race as well. As we watch once again all the T-posing mechanics. Nice to know the Codemasters love to just make everything worse. But there's no smoking sign. Didn't know that was there. There's something else you need to know.
Owen, are you aware of the new rule which is in Cup Series but not Kia Series?
Well, we had this discussion with Gareth the other night during the race where you can make 1 mandatory stop under safety car. I assume that's the one you're going to talk to me about.
Oh no, we'll just leave it like that.
Happy days.
The slight change to the rule, you can now not follow the safety car in, so if you do, there is a non-mandatory pit stop. Whereas last week it wasn't, because it wasn't cleared up. So we had 2 conflicting rules, but that is now sorted. However, you can make 1 pit stop under the safety car and it be mandatory, providing it is the right side of stage 2, before the end of stage 2, sorry. Yes. It does make sense, trust me. You just go with me on it.
I will go with you on that one. I know it caused a bit of controversy in the chat when you announced it. And,
just a bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully agree with it, but I'm not the boss, so... oh well, gotta just have to accept it. Jacko's the boss. His name's on the door. So, well.
You can't get away from it, can you? It's even named after me.
Exactly. Unacceptable.
Anyway, enough about me. Jake O'Sullivan is setting a very fast pace on this formation lap.
That's an interesting tactic. He's heating up cold, harder tyres. That's what he's doing here. Because these tyres are a nightmare to heat up around here. As you can imagine, there's not many places you can sort of weave and muck about without actually hitting something. And that can get you disqualified from the formation lap, etc. But he will have to slow down at some point, because he doesn't want to be sat on the grid for too long. No one starts on the hards, by the way. We do have 3 jokers. Casper, who's in 2nd place. Iceman, who's in 9th place. And Connor, who's in 12th place. Unsurprisingly, they're all on mediums. And it's pretty much a 50-50 split across the field. Well, 9 on softs, 11 on mediums. But, yeah, interesting.
Yep. Stage points tonight. End of lap 10 and end of lap 20. and then it's a 20-lap stint to the checkered flag, as Jake has now bunched the pack up, or they've caught up, not sure which one. We've seen the Joker be very good round here. Let me just confirm. 1 second, Owen. Sorry, I should have been more prepared, really, shouldn't I? That would have been a good idea. Joker wins in the Cup Series Season 3. Khalifa won on his Joker, and that is the only Joker win here. In theory, though, because of the narrow nature of Monte Carlo, it should favour the Joker, especially with this rule set.
Yes, with that safety car pitting rule, it means that the utter carnage you could see around here might well benefit them rather than ruin a race for them. As you see, Michel Goris right at the back in the illegal machine, and the lights in front of the drivers. It is race 108, it's the Monaco Grand Prix, it's throwback week. And boogity boogity boogity, let's go racing. Looks like a very good start from Casper. Surely he'll lead into turn 1. Will Jake fight him back? I'm sure he won't, because look at that, down the inside Jamie Griffiths. Was that legal? As we see Jake already sliding down to 4th position. I think Jamie Griffiths got away with that one. It looked almost like a corner cut. But it was a fantastic dive down the inside in turn 1. That's not something you see very often around here. Especially with it ending in the wall. They've all got through there very well indeed. So it's Casper from the 2 Jamies, and it is Jake, who you would have assumed, being on pole in Monaco, would have been at least in the top 2 or 3 by the end of the first sector. He's down in 4th position. He'll be absolutely fuming with that, as we do get the yellow flag, but I think that's just for drivers going through on the hairpin. Although saying that, we do have a car with the front one missing. I have seen that Jimmy Wright has lost the position to Jake, as it was Pete who lost his front wing. But what happened to Jake, if you saw it?
I was actually on board with Jake through turn 1, and contrary to the view that you might have had, Jamie Griffiths had a lot more room than maybe what your camera gave off, so I don't think it was illegal. He may have got a warning for it, but certainly no penalty as we come towards the end of the first lap, first of 39, and Casper, who's threatened all week that he's going to be quick here, leads the way.
Jake has already made up 2 of those positions he lost by the end of the first lap. So getting by Jimmy Wright, we didn't see that one, but Jamie Griffiths, we definitely did. And, well, fighting play here in Monaco, you do not see this very often, but he knows he's got the race leader in front of him who's on the Joker. He really does need to be getting himself in front of him and stopping him from having full control over this thing. So, are we about to see an on-track battle for the lead in Monaco? Surely not.
Hopefully we do. As we see OKK make a pit stop at the back, that is non-mandatory in the Transformers machine, so he'll have to make at least 2 more. The battle continues up front. Casper has a half-second lead, which is enough round here, isn't it, to keep someone behind you. It's all about not making mistakes, and he's had the perfect start so far, 1.5 laps in.
And as I suspected, Pete Knighton is going to keep going without a front wing until the end of lap 3, so he can make his mandatory stop. Oddly enough, losing the front wing around Monaco on this game doesn't really change how the car drives. You'd be surprised at that, but well, you can see he's holding on to the back of the pack relatively well, and so he might get away with that.
He knows there'll be a safety car as well, as we see Jake setting the fastest lap behind Casper, so he is going well here, but it's all about timing your move and making it at the right time. Iceman, by the way, down in P9, he's not gained or lost anything from the start, so he just finds himself in a typical Monaco train, currently behind that Lotus 72 car of Kyle. As we see the car in front of him, Yori have a moment out of Casino, but gathers it back up nicely. Then looking for a gap down the inside of Kyle, but Kyle shuts the door.
They're definitely way more aggressive than I was expecting them to be in these early stages. And
KK pits again.
That's OKK cycling through tyres maybe, but I mean, this early on, both those non-mandatories, bit of a waste of time doing that, as Yuri has a look on the back of Leroy, but we must look at the front because this is surely a move for the lead coming soon. Or well, it's the thing, Casper can't even pit. He can't pit at this stage. It's surely way too early to do the Joker successfully, so he is going to have to just stick this one out, surely. Jake won't pit, he's all over the back of the race leader. And, well, this is about holding your bottle now. As we head down towards turn 1, DRS enabled for the first time in this race. And Jake will just sit behind, but the pressure he's going to be giving to Casper will be almost unbelievable for him. He won't be able to imagine that he's able to stay that close. But he is staying that close.
Yep, sorry Owen, I'm just keeping an eye on the pit as we have here. Everyone 12th and down.
I'm just going to see, is there anywhere he can look at a move here? Because he obviously doesn't want to put himself out of the race. The DRS run down towards turn 1, he didn't really gain anything. But if he can be close enough out of Porte towards Nouvelle Chicane, could there be a chance? He uses a little bit of ERS just to keep in touch. Obviously no DRS through that tunnel. I think it would cause a bit of an airplane crash, but I'm sure someone might have tried it at some point in history. But yeah, certainly not on these regulations. And yeah, they're pulling well away from the two Jamies, so it's quickly becoming a two-horse race. And this is where having Joker sort of makes it a bit annoying to watch, because you sort of know the latent advantage that Casper has, and that's why Jake has to pass him to disrupt that. And it's more pitters. It's the last two of the soft runners in that top 10. Or Kieran, actually, sorry, will stay out. So 2 out of 3 pit, and in fact, Kieran's all the way the back of Gareth. He'll be looking to move. Run outside into turn 1, that's a brave one if he's going to try it, and he won't. Although Gareth's a little bit crossed up on the way in. This could continue up the hill, but if they have any sense, they'll leave it.
So Iceman and Connor now find themselves in the top 6 within that window, which would put them net 2 and 3. Obviously, Jake and the 2 Jamies may hamper that with their extra stop that they can make. But starting to come good now for all 3 Jokers, as Casper seems fairly under control. Fastest lap last time by. He's got the measure of Jake for sure. I think, like you said earlier, Jake really had to get the move done to hamper it. But Casper, he just looks so calm, doesn't he? 2-time race winner here, don't forget.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? And this is going to frustrate Jake for the rest of this first stint. He is getting the hardest tyre out of the way that he'd be using today, I would assume. Because he'll go for 2 soft stints after this, but yeah, he's just going to have to sit there and just hope things work out for him. And it's easier said than done. Iceman knew fast as that. If he gets a safety car, I'll put him right up to where he needs to be, because I think in clean air he should still be, well, as you see through the proof of that fast lap, one of the fastest drivers, and not the fastest driver, out in the field. But it's every time we come here, qualifying is what gets him down. And he has to make that recovery in the race. Can he do it today?
It is a long race as well, don't forget. 34 laps to go still. We'll never know how good his qualifying lap was, but if you were in the chat before the race, he did a 109.8 he posted from time trial.
I feel like he's had even quicker than that though as well. He's had even quicker than that, I think. Like he's been really on fire.
It was certainly faster than what Jake did, the pole time we saw. As Jake has then now got a little bit closer to Casper through the swimming pool section, and then has a moment on the exit and just opens up that gap by a 10th. So Jamie Griffiths picks up a penalty, but Jake clipped the inside wall, and that allows Casper to breathe. And breathe he does. He stretches that margin almost up to a second. The DRS just about keeps Jake, within touching distance. But the issues at the moment are with Jake and not Casper.
Yes, and they've also been with Jamie Griffiths, who's obviously got that penalty, cut the corner, had to bail off into the pit lane onto the hard compound tyres. That could be a race-losing mistake that for him in terms of that podium. But it means Iceman, as Jamie Wright hits the wall, has a chance now around the outside. That's going to be a brave move, but you know what? He's making it stick, but surely Jamie Wright will be right back up the inside. No way he doesn't. And that's going to cost them both time, but it does keep the 2-time champion in front. This is Iceman, who just before the race did put in the chat a 109.1. So he is very, very quick indeed. I knew it was a quicker time than the point A.
And he wants to get past Jamie Wright as well.
Here we go.
He doesn't want to wait, but here we go. Strap in.
He's got more ERS. You can see Jamie's harvesting around the outside. Just about enough space, but no way he makes the corner. Nice try. Was he ahead, though, before he cut the corner? I'm sure he'll have some sort of arguments, but, there's no rules, really, in JACKOCAR that says he has to give that back. So
the only one being that you cannot exploit track limits during the race. The only conflicting rule to that is if the game lets you get away with it, then there's no issue. So you got the argument for both Jamie and Ben there.
I feel like
we'll have to go to VAR after the race, I'm sure, if Jamie has a problem with it. But for the moment, in terms of the show, we've now got Iceman trying to catch up to Jake, who is now right back behind Casper.
in the context of the race, that was a move that had to be done because Jamie Wright hit the inside wall coming up the hill. I'm sure he's damaged his front wing. You can see he's hemorrhaging time. So I think that move, you know, for the sake of Iceman getting himself clear, fair enough. And if the game let him do it, we've always sort of been happier to trust the game's judgment on it. Although, of course, your VAR system, which is very Jacko.
Well, he's going to let Connor go here.
Well, yeah, he's going to have to try and survive for a while here. I don't know how long he can.
It's a move that would have happened anyway. Pete and Quinn having problems at the back. Oh, Quinn's just hit OKK. Or the other way around.
Well, no damage out there for them, luckily. No safety cars to be brought out for any of that. As Jake around the final corner once again just holding on to the back of the race leader, but not really able to do anything about actually overtaking him because just how short that stretch is towards turn one. It's not even really a straight. You can't really position yourself to pass because of the way the walls, certainly on the way into turn one, close in on you. You can't just throw it around the outside of your side by side. You have to back up at that point. So if you're going to make a move into turn one, you have to be practically alongside by the start-finish line, I would have said. And even then, it'll be a bit of a tight one. So it's a big uphill fight, possibly into the Nouvelle Chicane if there's any issues out of Portier. But even now, as we saw with Iceman, the way you get past, it might be slightly illegal if you can make it work. But if the game, like I say, lets you do it, it lets you do it. But he's run out of VRS now, has Jake, compared to Casper, who's held on to some. So yeah, he still very much appears to be in control of this.
Well, initial check on the Iceman move, looking back, he actually made the majority of the second corner. He didn't just cut the entire chicane. He did make an effort to make the second part. He was forced wide in the first portion, so he had to cut it. It looks like he would get away with that, but I'm sure if there's any problems, we will hear about it as Casper begins the 10th lap, which of course at the end of this lap is the first playoff point.
And Jamie Griffiths, whose day was already starting to fall apart when he got the penalty and cut across the swimming pool chicane, has now hit the wall and spun coming to the end of the first sector and has got front wing damage. And so it's a shame that a driver who was running right up at the front will indeed have no choice but to fall right back. And that could be, let's say, his race falling apart completely.
He'll be waiting for a safety car. As we see Michel Goris come up behind Jamie. Will get past as a yellow flag out. It may well be for lap cars.
I believe it was Quinn letting him through.
Yeah, absolutely. Through go the leaders then. 2 cars a lap down now. OKK up next for them as Jamie Griffiths does lose that position to Michel Goris. And it's still Casper versus Jake. Yellow flags out for a spun Quinn.
Oh, that has to be a safety car. He's in the middle of the track. I'd be amazed if no one hits him. And Jake straight into the pits. This is what he was looking for. If he couldn't get past Casper on track. Now, will anyone hit that car? Because it is just sat in the middle of the track.
Iceman is in. Connor's the next one of interest.
Luckily that car's moved. I would be surprised if Connor pits on the Joker. I think it makes sense to say it there, and he does. Will he get himself out in front of Jake, though? Well, I suppose Ben has that pace, though, doesn't he? And I guess he knows he can maybe get away a bit more than Connor, who I would argue doesn't have the pace. No offence to him, but...
That's a fair argument.
The problem that he obviously has is that he hasn't actually beaten Jake out of the pits. And that is going to be bad news for Casper. Because, well, he has the lap car in between, but they'll obviously move out of the way. Jake on the restart, we saw how aggressive he was on the race start. So you would have imagined there'll be some sort of pressure now being put onto Casper. They both now have to only pit one more time in this race. And Casper does have to go to a different compound. Either the hard, does he want to do that? Or the soft, which will give him early pace, but will end up dropping off. This really has not been timed well for Casper.
Nope. And it makes a lot of sense now as to why Ben pitted. I wonder if he saw the gap or had his engineer tell him that Jake pitted and would come out right behind Casper. It's a strong possibility that that may be the case. Ben has gone to the hards, which obviously will do the remainder of this race. But you've got 3 different drivers on 3 different compounds, and also Connor, who will pit again. Sorry, make his first stop, my apologies.
So this is him assessing the situation and deciding he'll take a set of hards to the end then, but that's going to cost him position.
Yeah, but he's going to drop all the way down. He should have done it a lap before. It's a silly move.
Well, it drops him to 9th for now. I would have imagined that he'll possibly fall to as low as 12th.
The only thing that will save him is everyone else has to make a stop, but the issue being he's going to be in the pack on this restart.
On the slowest tyres.
And what do cautions do, Owen?
Well, they breeded cautions, and in
Yes,
Monaco, in JACKOCAR, we've seen on restarts, we'll keep bringing it up last season, we saw multiple cars flying into the swimming pool after the safety car restart last season. That'll be Connor right in the thick of that again.
And that was another race that I had to commentate as lead, wasn't it?
Yes.
Sorry, just to throw it in there.
Yeah, it's fine.
You know what? It's a lot easier being analysis.
Yeah, you get to do a lot more. Well, do you get to do more bullying as the analysis? You just sort of bully me, but I get to bully the drivers more. So I mean, it works
true.
out. It works out.
I also get to keep up with the laps led, which at the moment Casper has led all 11 of them.
Wow, that took a lot. That took a lot of effort to calculate that, didn't it?
Normally, it's a lot more difficult than that.
You'll never guess what he has a stage point for that as well, having that first
He did actually.
point.
I'll tell you what, Jake was on pole as well, so I've got the playoff points added up as well.
Wow. Well, there you go. Cutting edge analysis there from Jacko.
Yeah. I've even done a VAR review for you and been inconclusive on that.
Yep.
So, you know, it's definitely easier with 2 of us.
Yeah, that's what you tune in for on a Thursday, isn't it?
Absolutely.
No, I'm hoping this will be the last lap of safety car that we're starting now. The only car really that has to catch up big time is going to be OKK. The last of the unlapped runners. Unfortunately, Ben Spurs is just sort of in no man's land now, unless the whole field lets him through. That's not really going to happen, especially when there's nowhere to go off here. That doesn't actually just put you out of the race. So yeah, Ben's basically just going to have to hope for a lot of retirements in front of him that gets him further up the results, because he will finish last on track most likely. Now Pete in the pits again. I've taken another front wing off. This is not uncommon for him. I'm sure you will very much remember that it must still be the record of 9 pit stops, and it was Pete who managed it here in Monaco back in what, season 2?
I thought it was the ILR days, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I could be wrong.
You could be wrong. I know it was Pete that did it, but
it was definitely Pete.
It could well be ILR, I suppose. Just an extension to JACKOCAR. Point is though, if you've been around our league for a while, in whatever as well, can I take ownership of it? Not really. If I've been around Jack's league,
Jacko to you.
Well, it's either Jack's League or Jack's League. Whichever Jack it was who owned it at the time.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Then it'll be, Pete basically knows how to lose a front wing on Monaco. And I've watched it happen. I can't tell you when, I can't tell you what the league was called, but I know the driver who did it. And, the safety car is now in the pits, so it's all down to Casper to control the restart. You can go from any point. Well, we'll ride on board here and I'll tell you. Because you'll be looking for the Rolex sign. Not this
is going to be juicy.
It'll be that next Rolex sign. I'm pointing at it, you can see, but it's that big overhead bridge there.
Oh, that really helps. Thank you.
And,
here they go then.
Well,
back underway in Monaco.
Yes, so he pretty much is one of the easier ones to get right. Actually, that one, but he's got it completely wrong.
In the wall.
And hit the wall, which is exactly what he didn't need to do, and exactly what Casper, was actually what Iceman was looking for, because it gets him in front of the other Joker runner, and he can now sit back and, assess his situation. He can go to the end of the race on these tyres. You would imagine he'll be pretty slow by the end of it. Jake has a clear road in front of him, and he knows he has to get his foot down. And Casper, broken front wing, is going to hold the guys behind him up for a long time indeed, and that is a shocking mistake. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
risky. My goodness, did he actually hit the wall? I think he saved that. That's incredible if he did. He's now going to be side by side with Yuri down towards Nouvelle Chicane. He outbreaks himself, cuts the corner. This is going to remain side by side for a bit. And this is where we get more of these yellow flags, but Risky's done very well to recover that. I cannot quite believe he's still in this race after spending on the exit of Fortier.
He saved that as well. What a save. That was brilliant. By the way, Kyle Smith finds himself up in P4 at the moment in the ART train, which now becomes the Kyle Smith train. Up into P3 he goes then, as Casper does pit.
And what's happening here is Jamie Wright had to let Connor through. Connor, who's obviously now the second highest of the Jokers, and well, one of only two that still actually can do a Joker, as Kieran had to look on the inside of Leroy on the way up the hill. Risky to do it here, but if you get him on the exit down towards the start of the second sector, then he'll be pretty sweet, and he is in the HRT running in P6, 2 places higher than it's ever run in his history, so not too bad for Kieran. And obviously he's got a penalty. A bit more side by side going on through here. We've got Gareth and we've got Jordan and we've got Jamie Griffiths, and it's still going on this scrap. All 3 of them are fighting away into Portier. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to turn out, but Gareth will be scampering away, having nicely fought back. Through the slowest part of the track, and Jamie Griffiths and Jordan. That was terrific as well through the tunnel, as Gareth gets it all wrong, the Nouvelle Chicane, lets them all catch back up again. And Michel Goris has just got himself past Jess as well. It's all happening at the back. At the front, really, it got a bit sort of neutered by Casper hitting the wall, sadly, but Jake, he knows what he has to do. Basically, another, 10, 15 laps just like that one, just to try and make some sort of a gap to Iceman.
Yep. Iceman then has to keep that gap as small as possible, so basically do the opposite of what Jake's doing.
Jess in the wall.
Jess in the wall, no safety car?
Well, she's reversing down the wall now. I'm not entirely sure why she's doing that, because I can get her a black flag and she nearly comes back onto the middle of the track. That was... yeah, that could have gone a lot worse, Jess. But luckily, still in the race, and luckily not taking Casper with him, as Gareth broke his front wing in all that fighting and has had to pit.
Right. Yeah, as I was saying, so Iceman has to do the reverse of Jake and try and keep that gap as small as possible, which he is doing to give himself the best possible chance of having a bigger lead as possible. Kieran, he's doing bits on Yuri.
He's certainly motoring, isn't he? That's another move made by the reigning champion. Took 2 attempts to get into the back corner, but managed to make it. His penalty, what is it? Must be just 3 seconds, but I'll have a quick look. Yeah, 3 seconds. So, unfortunately, you can't take 3-second penalties off in the pits, but well, he's going to have to try and make it on track instead. And he's certainly got the pace to do it, based on what we're seeing at the moment. And that gap at the front already sort of starting to stagnate at 2.3 seconds. It's not really what it's not really what Jake needs right now. He needs a bit more divine intervention, but yeah, he's going to have to do what he can, really, with this.
Just watching OKK and Jess at the moment. Jess with some damage, and OKK struggling to get around her.
Kieran, is that the whole front wing? Yes, it is the whole front wing gone. Luckily, no safety car, but, well, Kieran's progress has been halted very quickly indeed. And he'll be falling right down the field. Connor is keeping his nose clean in all this, and is still very much on track.
Say no more.
Very much on track to be on for a podium if he just keeps it all on the track, because of the way this track is. So yeah, maybe, I mean, he didn't pit at the right time, but it might still lead to the same result if he can just keep this on the road. We're a few laps away from the end of stage 2 when that second pit stop window will open. I
would say Connor is on for a best at P3.
Oh dear. What's happened here? Is that... oh, there's a few crashes happening here. Jordan, and... was it just Jordan? I believe Pete has also lost a front wing.
Well, Jordan's just crashed into the wall.
Yeah, Jordan's doing that out of rage, because I think he's floored it into Tabac as well. Somehow no safety car for that, though. People are pitting, but no safety car for a car in the wall. Explain that one, Codemasters. That's a very odd decision.
Kaya in the chat making the point that isn't the safety car glitched around here? Not something I was aware of.
Well, it might be.
Might be white. Yep.
because that was Jordan flooring it, I think, into the back. I mean, maybe I caught him at a bad moment, but I thought he was actually flooring it into the hairpin. It was that odd a crash to look at. And obviously then stacks it in the swimming pool a few moments later. Leroy and MP Bourne are fighting now, and as Leroy got that position by cutting the corner, he might well have done, because he's got a 3-second penalty, but not been told to get that place back. So, yeah, it's another one of those moves that might end up having a wee VAR check on it, but at the very least this one actually comes with a penalty.
Oh, he's just gone into the back of Risky as well. And Mike spun behind him.
Has spun behind him, yes.
This is going to be dangerous. Oh, look at Michel Gorry's just about avoiding him there, as Mike does recover.
Has Risky got some sort of damage or something, because he's going so slowly at the moment. Getting rear-ended just because of how slow he was at Raskas, and yeah.
Maybe some body damage.
Possible, yeah. Maybe he's hit a curb too hard, one of the swimming pool curbs, or the Nouvelle chicane, because this is too slow for someone who was making ground. And he's just going to fall back by the looks of it. And is that Jess? Oh dear. This is going to get quite slow, people. Unless Jess moves out of the way, but we've been through this before. There we go. She's moving out of the way, thank goodness for that. Vocal cords, I'll stay nice and working.
Oh, there they go.
I shall say no more. As Risky, yeah, this is not quite going to plan for him at the moment. This has been a bad sort of lap and a half for him. Now he got a penalty and into the wall. Oh dear. Now that bit of front wing could cause punctures if anyone goes and hits it. I was flying back into the pack. I think it would have shown up by now though if anyone had, but that will surely be a car into the pits on the next lap, because we're at the end of the second stage, and Jake will be picking up that point in a moment.
Yeah, of course that is the end of lap 20, he'll get that. Jake with the most stage wins of anyone this season. Risky wide, by the way, through turn 1, allows Connor to sit right up behind him. Will he look for a move into Casino?
You've got to be so careful here on the Joker. You've got to just be patient. I know it sounds like a difficult thing to do, but
and you will know, Owen,
benefit.
Risky is one of the hardest drivers to pass in this league. He knows how to defend.
He really does, and you can see the gap though that Leroy's made, having got past him. 3 seconds already. So Connor, whack that ERS on and give it a go. But I just don't think he's going to be close enough, even for now. So he's just going to have to hope that that pit stop comes soon, as we see the end of the second stage now, and Jake picking up that point.
Risky is fast in all the right places, and that's what's saving him.
Oh, he's done it! How they didn't touch is absolutely beyond me, but we don't have to really worry about it. He's not
fast there though, is he? Oh, what a move, Connor.
I tell you what, they must have been millimetres from touching, and there at the inside now goes Jamie Wright. And he's blocking that way into the pits, and that's going to be into the wall again. Potential for a safety car with this, because it's going to be a bit of a pile-up happening, or at least only 2 cars actually. And Michel Gorys, who did such a good job of avoiding MK Bourne, sadly had a car flung at him there. Nothing he could really have done about that at all. But I don't think he got any damage from it. So there's a
not sure,
positive.
But keep your eye on Jess though, because she drove straight over the wing damage that Risky left on track, so she could end up with a puncher.
And I am tending to agree with Kyle that there might be some sort of safety car issue there, because that, again, I'm thinking any other race would have been a safety car. With the front line in the middle of the track.
Iceman down to 1.3, Owen.
Yes, I'm watching the race leader who's almost hit the wall. He's going straight into the pits, in fact. I hope he hasn't got any damage. Or maybe the tyres have just finished, but yeah, he had to bail out of that one very quickly indeed. The second that pace disappeared, straight into the pits. Now, let's see where Connor's going to be in comparison to this. I reckon he's going to be a good sort of 10-15 seconds back from it. So yeah, it's going to be... I think he could be on for third, Connor, if he keeps at this pace. But he's not going to get any better than that about a safety car, which I'm not even sure they're going to come out anymore. But Jake, back into the race. Well, he's got about 18 seconds to try and catch up on the race leader. Not impossible, but it's a long way to go. Anything can happen.
72 starts in the Cup Series for Connor Byers. He has never been to the podium.
I think the closest he's been is Mexico in Season 5, where he was fighting for it on the final lap. I don't quite remember who took it off him, but he was up there, and that's the closest he's been.
He was also up there in Hungary, but that was a race you missed, so you wouldn't know about it, Owen.
Fair enough.
He got done on the final lap into turn 2 by current race leader Ben Shaw.
So it's happened to him in 2 races, losing a podium on the last lap. That is painful. And
also race 1 in Australia, season 1, when his TV turned off. He was on for a podium there as well. So he has had sniffs of the podium, but it hasn't quite put it together. Maybe race 72 is his time on his Joker. Catchman, by the way, comes out P3, 18 seconds behind your race leader. That's the gap. You've got to watch to the end now.
And of course, no pressure, Connor. Oh, look at this, side by side into the final corner. MK Bourne and Casper.
Oh, Casper's in the wall.
Head into the wall. Wow, that was a wee bit rude. But I mean, where exactly was MK Bourne meant to go? In fairness, with the cars being as wide as they are, and Casper maybe backed out of that one, and he's into the wall now. Let's see, is the safety car glitched or is it not? I would say
no, it's coming. It's coming.
There we go.
Yep.
Only took.
It's a former teammate as well as Mike to Casper. I don't know if there's a bit of bad blood there, perhaps, between the German and the Finn.
Have any of these drivers who are yet to make their second stops already made one on the safety car in this race? I'm sure you'll have the numbers on that one, Jacko, because if anyone can pay under the safety car, they will.
J. Luke has timed his to perfection, because people like Kieran, Mike, Leroy, Yuri and Kyle all still have to make one. What it will do is put Jake right on the back of Iceman on this restart, and Connor will move up to P3. Here comes Kyle into the pits. This is a legal stop.
Connor will be absolutely praying for this delta to sort of lessen, even by a little bit. Yuri.
Oh, Yuri speeding under safety car.
I know, they're speeding all the way into the pits. How is that even possible? I wonder if there's some sort of delta issue, but look at this then. Out of the pits comes Kyle. He's still getting up to speed. Connor's had to slow down before he gets to the line. Oh, how frustrating is that? Kyle, he's nicked that podium position off him. And I tell you what, he's now going to have an onslaught of soft or medium runner tyres behind him. Fresh medium runners. Yuri, Leroy, and MK Bourne. And Jamie Wright if he can get himself in front of Kieran, who's into the pits. So yes, he will. So
Jamie's tyres are lap old, so
Connor's perhaps going to have to look behind him rather than in front of him for the rest of this race. Although, of course, that all depends on if Jake's going to get aggressive on this restart again. Because we're in the situation that we were at the start where he has to make the move happen. This time he is on genuinely better tyres. By some distance. So, if I'm Iceman right now, I'm a little bit anxious about what's going to happen on this restart. Although, of course, there are some lap cars in between the front two, but again, we'll keep saying they should move themselves out of the way, but there's about 5-6 of them.
Jake O'Sullivan as well, now under the knowledge that you can move drivers out the way. It happened to him last week. So I wonder if he's going to consider that with Iceman, or will he keep the respect? As these two look like they're on course for another Championship 5 bout come the start of June, where we head to Silverstone.
It is a bit frustrating, these lap cars. I mean, I hope they all know what they're doing. Although, of course, quite a lot of them are speed drivers, I've noticed. So, good luck, Jake. And they're in a line as well, those speed drivers of Gareth, Pete, Gareth and Risky. Just, yeah, no pressure on that one. But we might be on safety car for a while though. I wonder if any of these guys will pit out of the way during it. But, Oh,
sorry, I'm just doing something.
Okay, that's one way of getting out of it, by just moving off the road, but Pete has actually not really achieved anything by cutting the corner. Wonder why he's done that. Why has he done that? Odd one. Maybe he was about to run into JACKOCAR or something, but... Oh, please pit, you lot.
So Pete and Gareth need to pit. I'm just working out the rest.
No, we're not pitting, are we? We're not pitting.
Who? Oh, and I'm not on the screen. Who is last place at the moment of the runners?
Ben.
Okay, he's good to the end. So yeah, Pete and Gareth are the only two that need to make a second mandatory stop.
My, what's
Pete
happening
did
here?
stop on lap 20,
What is happening
but that of course
here?
didn't count.
Risky and Gareth are fighting on track now. You're not exactly what you want under safety car. If I'm Jake right now, I'll be livid with what's happening in front of me, because even if they do move themselves out of the way on the in lap, which they sort of have to do, into the pits, even at that point, there's going to be a good gap to Iceman. Jake, of course, I suppose, could floor it up to the back and argue that, well, I was just catching up to the leader. I wouldn't call that preempting a restart. I would call it just catching up. So maybe there's a potential for us to work out in his favour, because he pretty much would be able to launch it from the final corner long before the restart zone. But, well, that might be the only benefit of this.
As Ben will tell you as well, he does not participate in the team speed chat. So these free speed drivers between him and Jake, this will be something that they've opted to do just to annoy Jake, perhaps, to help their man. But by a JACKOCAR ruling, they must pit out the way. Gareth and Pete have to make another stop. Everyone else is good to the end. Owen Wyatt, as I hand you back for this restart. Hand back to you, sorry, for the restart.
So let's ride on board then, as Risky's overtaking 2 cars under safety car. It's all going to back up. Riding on board, looking back from Iceman first. Will they all move out of the way? It looks like they're doing so, but look at Risky just slowing it right down. So Jake will now floor it, but you can see that Iceman's already at that restart zone, and there's no reason for him not to go. And so it's a bit of a damp squib there for restart, but we're underway. And Jake, well, at least he's got some free air to try and get those tyres up to temperature and get himself up to the race lead. And there's a lot of penalties in that mid-pack as well for Jamie Wright to make some positions up. They'll all be chasing after Connor, who I would imagine will end up naturally falling back on these older hard compound tyres. And so this is a setup for the end of the race, unless of course we get another safety car, which wouldn't surprise me. It's where we often get the most action actually in a JACKOCAR Monaco race, and those lasted a 5-10 laps. I'll always remember Season 4, where it really did just go nuclear between everyone, although that was the last race before the Championship 5, so you can certainly understand it on that occasion. Here, though, it's only a few rounds until we get to the playoffs, so there is definitely stuff still to fight for.
You mentioned Season 4, that sounds like one of my brilliant ideas, making Monaco the last race before the Championship 5. Nuclear is one of many descriptive words you could use for that race. Casper moving Jake O'Sullivan out the way, allowing Red Matt through at Casino, put him into that Championship 5 at Austin, which of course we all know what happened there. As Jamie Wright went on to claim his second title after Kieran Gate.
Kieran, who was obviously well part of Kieran Gate itself, being overtaken by Jamie Griffiths, who's back in the running in P8. Leroy's had to pit again for the last time, hopefully. And yeah, the gap at the front, just under a second. That'll be important, obviously, when DRS gets enabled. It'll just give Jake a little bit more to play with. And this is where Iceman's superb one-lap pace run here is going to have to be translated into race pace. And he's going to really have to prove himself in these last few moments. It shouldn't be the hardest race in the world to win, but when you're under massive pressure at Monaco, you miss an apex, you're in the wall. It's as simple as that.
And against your biggest rival as well, no less, who banged it on pole by 6/10. I would say that we don't know what Iceman could have achieved, other than what his TT times tell us of 109.1. We keep referring back to that. But these are the two juggernauts of the league. If we was anywhere else, I'd say there's 3 juggernauts, but Jamie Wright finds himself down in P7. So the battle is very much Ben Shaw of Liverpool and Jake O'Sullivan of the Stanton area, as he has a moment for the final corner, allows Ben to get away, and Ben will see that. Ben will see that, and he will drive away with a bit more confidence as he hits the wall on the exit of turn 1. Risky racer with a penalty, but Jake keeps the gap below 8/10 for now. But it's not the first time today, Owen, that we have seen Jake in the wall.
Certainly not, but I'll tell you what, that was a very nice drift out of the final corner. I will give him that. Jamie Griffiths has lost his front wing. That's why he's into the pits. Yori's had to pit as well. I don't really know what for, but he's out in 9th, just in front of his brother, who's in 10th, also had to pit, helping Jamie Wright out. Jamie Wright could still finish on the podium if he can get himself in front of Connor quickly enough and then maybe catch up to Kyle. Although I would argue that's quite unlikely. So 4th place, probably where Jamie Wright will be looking to finish. Kyle is hanging on slightly to the front two, but I don't think he has the pace, if I'm honest with you. So
Kyle, of course, was the man that won that Season 4 race. There's a 3-second penalty for Jamie. Kyle taking the lead from Arnaud on the final lap, who had a puncher, but all the action was behind him. And of course, if Jake and Ben start fighting, Kyle will happily take the lead of Monaco yet again.
Indeed, that last lap in Season 4 was Arnaud's second brush to the walls that day, because the first time I think it was with Risky, where he was being blocked trying to lap him, then find the wall, had damage from that. Final lap, coming up through here, hits the wall, loses the front wing again, and yeah, lost the race right at the end. So it's it's never over till it's over. Right now it's 2 people fighting for it, but as you say, Kyle did win that Season 4 race, so as long as he just keeps his nose in it, you just never know. Now, what's this yellow flag for? Not
Ben
really
Harrett.
too sure. Didn't look like he was going all that slowly, or well, he's cutting the corner.
He certainly didn't leave any debris on track either. But back to the front as we move away from the back. These two, by the way, Owen, you missed it, the karting event at the weekend. Ben and Jake have now met in person. I wonder if that'll create a bit more respect between the two. Or maybe not. This is JACKOCAR after all. But how badly does one or the other want to win around here as we see more contact with the wall?
I tell you what, that bottomed out horrendously for Jake coming through that swimming pool chicane, the first part of it. Second curb. Should have been out of the race with that. And
he's certainly pushing, isn't he?
I'm sure his heart will have been in his mouth. Mine certainly was. And by the way, at the back, they're going for a safety car. Look at this. Speed drivers, Pete, Risky, Gareth, practically driving on top of each other here. And Gareth hits the wall, or sorry, Pete hits the wall. Risky all over the back of Gareth, who maybe has also been in the wall. He does look quite slow at the moment. And yeah, these three are certainly asking to go wrong a little bit. And the reason I'm focusing on that is, of course, that's where that late safety car could come from. Because they are certainly, they're not holding back. Look at this, Risky in towards turn 1. Late on the brakes, going to be a contact, that's going to be into the wall if they're not careful. And I don't think they're being
Kept
careful.
it out of it.
They're really not being careful at all, these two, actually. And Pete would try and catch up, but he's really binned it himself. Yellow flags again for Ben, not entirely sure what, because he's still moving.
And in the last 2 weeks, by the way, Jake on the back of Ben now, but in the last 2 weeks where you haven't been it, I keep mentioning that, we've had last lap safety cars, or sorry, two green flag running laps at the end of races, as Ben has a moment there, but keeps it facing the right way, and Jake slow through the final corner, so the gap opens up again. Lap 32 of 39, it's coming to a close here in Monaco, and Kyle still just about hanging on to the back of this. Ben Harrett and Jess causing yellow flags. I don't know why though. Maybe just going too slowly. The leaders, it won't be too long before they're on the back of them.
Yeah, that'll be them being lap for the second time today. Risky and Gareth might be a contender for most entertaining fight of the entire championship. I wish we could have a bit of a split screen here so we can see the lead fight and the actual fight, which is wheel to wheel through quite a lot of that middle sector, Risky and Gareth. And well, they're going to have some drivers coming up to the back. This is going to be Jamie Griffiths trying to lap them. And again, keeping an eye on the front two. It's close again to Nouvelle Chicane, but no one's budging right now. No one wants to risk anything.
These two, what a show.
Oh, I just don't know what to watch. Because there's more chance of Risky and Gareth coming together, because they're just here for the fun of it. They're fighting for P13. No one cares about finishing P13. You know what I mean? This is just them fighting for fun. And Jamie Griffiths, well, lapping them as well, not really helping. So, yeah. Oof. Didn't think Monaco would have this much on-track action, but there you go.
There we go.
We'll look at the leaders for a bit. Give them their screen time. Say hello to the sponsors and all the rest of it.
Yep. Premier in, Kia, POR Designs, and close to order. And part of the JACKOCAR family. Desperately trying to get another one on board. Monster Energy and Nike won't reply to me though.
I don't know why that is.
Don't know why.
Yeah. Odd.
They're quite a big deal now. The premier esports event on a Thursday night. He wouldn't want to be anywhere else as we come through the exit of the tunnel under the Fairmont Hotel. And Jake further back this time. He wouldn't dare launch a a dive bomb from there. Struggles on the exit, but gets the traction going in the end, and through they go. They're absolutely flying, these two. They start to drop Kyle. He's starting to fall off, I must admit, but certainly there to pick up the pieces if it all goes wrong.
Risky,
Connor Byers, credit to him, P4.
Risky has now broken his front wing. He was side by side with Gareth on the way up through Massenet. Not the best idea. And yeah, this is obviously now a damaged car fighting against
Look at Jake at the inside at Casino!
No chance
oh, he touches the back of Ben!
No
he thought about it.
No
He's
chance.
there though.
We just
knocking on the door.
Risky just tried it on Gareth, and that was a silly move. Let's not do it for the lead, because that will be an accident if you try that. And they are going to catch up to, as you say, those two at the back of Jess and of Ben. I think they will catch them soon as well. They are way, way faster than really anyone out there. And is Jake going to go for it on this lap? He can see...
He's a lot closer.
You can see...
No!
You can see that light on the back of Iceman's cars flashing. They're both on no ERS, so it's pretty much a dogfight. But at what point do these medium tyres start to lose their grip? The hard tyres tend to just sort of stay consistent for a stint. And you can see Jake there wasn't even really attacking the swimming pool chicane, the second part of it, as hard as he could be. I wonder how aggressive he'll get towards the end of this race. And
why has Ben Harrett dropped back as well? Teammate, of course, to Jake O'Sullivan. We've seen speed play games before, but what about ART? He's slow through turn one. Here comes Iceman and Jake up the hill once again. The blue flags wave. Owen Wyatt into Casino.
Yeah, again, he's not going to try it through there, but as you say, with Ben Spurs right in front of him, Iceman's going to really have to be looking at his mirrors, but also at what sort of pace the car in front of him is going to have. Is there an opportunity as Iceman gets cut off? Jake thought about it on the inside of the hairpin, but there was no chance of that one happening at the lowest hairpin. I'd be amazed if anyone gets a move done there today, especially for a high position. No bothers or the penalties for Ben. I don't think he really cares, Ben Spurs that is, about what penalties he would get by holding up the race leader, because I mean, as long as he's doing the job for his teammate, he can get blacklisted from the league for all he cares. And you can see he's doing a very good job of blocking. If you're Kyle, you'll be very much...
Oh, Ben hits the wall!
Surely from wing damage, it has to be. He hit the wall so hard on both sides.
He gets away with it.
Well, does he get away with it? It may not be visual, but that is the first crack in his armour. And oh, look at how tight that is through Raskas as Ben Spurs just holds on. And Kyle, surely he's going to be catching this now at a decent enough rate to think about fighting for this race win. We have still got 4 to go. And I don't think Ben Spurs has got any intentions of moving out of the way, as Jake
absolutely
up
not.
the hill has a decent run, but again, just nowhere to go. How slow is Ben Harrett going to have to get to help his teammate out? Oh, good exit. Really good exit. Into the back of the race leader goes Jake. No way through. Iceman nearly hits him as well. Oh my goodness me. Oh, he's fought about it into the lows hairpin as well. And look who's arrived. It didn't take him long. Kyle is definitely in this as well.
Yep. Oh, and let's throw it back to season 3 in Austria. You remember Jamie Wright and Corey fighting for the win, and Riley buys a lap car trying to intervene with the race result. It worked out for Corey that day. Ben to the left of other Ben, makes the corner, then gets a penalty. It's the wrong Ben for Jake.
It's both of them.
Oh, it is. Iceman gets it as well. There's the crack in the armour you're talking about.
He won't notice, Ben. Ben Harrett will not notice, and so he's going to keep holding him up. And Iceman loses the rear end. Now, what this is going to do, since Ben Harrett doesn't... Oh, he's pitted. He must have been told. So, that is now going to have a very angry Iceman trying to survive these last few laps. And it means that Kyle, if he has any pace in his Lotus 72, he's got to use it. Because
now is the time.
Jake will know that, well, what does Jake do now? What does Jake even do now? Knowing that he's now the net race leader. Oh, what does he do? Will there be more games at the end of this race?
Iceman's going to have to try and do it Nico Rosberg style. Lewis Hamilton style from 2016 Abu Dhabi. Force him into a mistake. But then, of course, they give up the win to Kyle, which I think Ben would rather that be the case. And Kyle, still there, by the way.
I think that's the idea. try and get Kyle into this now. Because, I mean, whatever happens, they've got 10 seconds to Connor, so they can afford to muck about. But that was just Iceman going for the move on Ben Hara. And the thing is, right, he just got it wrong. He just broke too late and cut the corner. I mean, you can obviously blame Ben Hara for blocking and all the rest of it, but the actual move to get past him just wasn't good enough, really. And he must have known he was on his last warning as well when he did that.
Lapped cars are not obliged to get out of the way as long as they are not a danger to other vehicles on track. I'm sure Ben will have a complaint about that, but I'm pretty sure, without looking at the rules, what Ben Hara did was inside the rules and the limits of the league. 2 to go here in Monaco. They come through Casino for the penultimate time. Jake O'Sullivan and Ben Shaw putting on a show. Maybe Kyle Smith gets another chance at this. Fireworks under the lights in Monaco. It always happens. But is this the beginning of some bad blood for a new JACKOCAR rivalry? The rivalry we've wanted, but perhaps not the way that Ben Shaw imagined it.
And an old familiar face just in the background waiting to try and spoil the party as well.
Not 10-time race winner Kyle Smith, is it?
Yeah, it would be. I don't know what warnings Jake is on. I'm sure you can probably check it, but I'm sure he'll be aware of that as well in these final moments. If Iceman tries to muck about there, he hits the wall. And yellow's everywhere, actually. There's a lot happening at the moment with people making mistakes. There's a green car that's been there. I hope it's not Connor. It's not. He's come past that. So I don't exactly know what's happened there, but we'll worry about that later.
1 to go.
As we start the final lap through turn 1. Again, they're pushing at these two. They really don't want to make any serious mistakes. Especially Jake. Risky was the car who went off, so he's now out of this race. Kyle, he's just not close enough, even if anything goes wrong for Jake, unless he wipes himself out of the race, or as we say, picks up a penalty. I just don't see how Jake loses this run now. Iceman doesn't even seem particularly interested in slowing anything down here. I think they're just going to let this one play out.
Yep, Jake plays it sensible now. It's a race win. It's race win number 6 on the way as he has a moment there. But it won't be enough to lose 3 seconds. He drops outside of DRS, but not enough to entertain the likes of an 8th win for Ben. The Season 5 champion, having his best season in JACKOCAR to date as they come through La Piscine for the final time. Lights flashing away in Monaco as these two warriors come around the final corner. Jake's gone wide though, and Kyle has a moment behind him. It won't be enough. Ben Shaw's out the final corner, but Owen Wyatt, Jake O'Sullivan will win in Monaco.
No,
he's slowed down. Kyle wins. Kyle wins in Monaco.
That's team play for you. That's the team play for you right there. So it's Kyle then. And that, well, it has to be a team play. There's nothing else there. Jake didn't even finish second place. He finished third there in the end. And so, Kyle, who nearly lost it in Rascasse, will pick up another last-minute Monaco win. And it doesn't get more last-minute than that, as he gets let through on the line. And that gets him into the playoffs guaranteed, of course, with a race victory. That's how it works in JACKOCAR, and that's why that's happened. Connor finishes 4th, once again, just missing out on the podium. MK Bourne in 5th place. Michelle Goris, right at the back, ended up 6th in here, not too bad. Kieran, Yuri, Jamie Wright, Jimmy Griffiths. Leroy was in the wall on the final lap, but is continuing without a front wing, and will fall behind Gareth thanks to the penalty. So Gareth will finish in 11th with Leroy in 12th. Or apparently not, okay. Maybe the penalty wasn't big enough. But Leroy from Gareth, OKK, Jess, and Ben Hara. And, well, that's a lot of damage on OKK's car. How on earth has he managed to do that? I have no idea. But, yeah, he'll still finish 13th. But, yeah, Kyle then. Well, there must have been some sort of team plan going into that then. And Iceman, well, it's Ben Hara who he's come to blows with, and that'll be a bit of controversy in the chat.
That's the outcome that I think Ben Shaw will have wanted, is Kyle winning. It's good to see Kyle actually win a race as well. The first time in, let me get some stats for you, Owen Wyatt. Oh, where are we? When you want it quick, it's not there. The first time in 40 Cup Series races, Kyle Smith stands atop of a JACKOCAR podium. And maybe that will soften the blow for Iceman losing this one through some ART play. Something we're accustomed to in the past with Team Speed. They're just as bad as each other, and that's what makes JACKOCAR great. What a fantastic race.
It is weird for once, isn't it, seeing ART muck about for once. A nice change of pace. But that is the race here at Monaco. Another classic for Monaco. We love a good classic here. It was nearly a pull to victory for Jake, but in the end he gave up even second place to let Kyle take it at the end. Iceman getting past Ben Harrett, got it all wrong and cut the corner at the Nouvelle Chicane, got himself a penalty, that's why he finished second. So Jake third, Connor fourth, Frankie Bourne, Michelle Goris, Kieran, Yuri, Jamie, Leroy, Gareth, OKK, Jess and Ben Harrett are finishers. Risky retired right at the end. Casper brought out that second safety car. Jordan binned it at the swim pool chicane. Quinn was out of the race as well as Pete, who got in fact disqualified. So, oh dear. 6 pit stops today,
yep.
Not quite the 9. In fact, Ben Harrett got 7, as did OKK.
And Jamie Wright finished on the lead lap as well. By the way, regardless of any penalties, 3 second penalties are not removed, so that race win will stand for Kyle, who didn't put a foot wrong. He just wasn't the fastest car out there, but such as the way events unfolded, he was able to be there to take it from Jake and Ben at the end.
Right then, so that's a Monaco race for you, and we go next time to Canada, which is just as mental. So very much looking forward to going there. That's what Monaco's produced for us. Then Canada might be just as bad or good, depends on which camp you're in really. Speed probably won't be too happy. ART will be looking forward to it, as will we. So we will be back 7 PM next Thursday to do it all over again here in Season 7 as we get towards the end of the regular season. We've got only 2 races to go now, Canada and Austria. But before we go, we probably should say what our favourite liveries were. Forgetting for a moment that it was throwback week. Have you got a favourite livery? I'll let you go first for once.
I'd rather you go first because I've got the sheet in front of me and I'm just having a quick look through.
You see, I'm conflicted because I actually quite liked Leroy's Mercedes because it had the nice fade to black at the back of it. I'm a sucker for people doing that with their Mercedes liveries. I might be quite a boring one to go for though.
You know what? I actually preferred the Kia grid this season.
Same.
So, with that in mind, I'm going to have to go for the very shiny or very colourful Gareth Hall in that 2013 Nationwide car.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Yeah, so I think I'll go for Leroy for his Mercedes. I quite liked it. So yeah, there's that bet. That thank God I remembered to do that because I think you maybe had forgotten.
No, I preferred the Kia grid. I just didn't want to say it, but you brought it out of me. So
yeah, well, I got.
I'm a bit disappointed. Mine wasn't selected on Tuesday night, you know. But you know, I'm not here to judge. And if I was here to judge, I would win the best livery.
So congratulations to Jacko, who's going to fix that result. Yeah, do be there. Where they're, well, I'd be surprised if we get a result as close as tonight's. But the only way to know is if you watch. So we'll be there 7 PM for the Canadian Grand Prix next Thursday. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Safe travels. Take care.